Hello and welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. Today we're doing something a little different. Just like all the other movie YouTubers, we're going to do a top 10 countdown of the best movies of 2023. These are all my opinions. What we say about the health hazards of these movies has virtually nothing to do with my opinions of these movies. This is just an amateur critic giving a top 10 list for the end of 2023. There's still a couple of 2023 movies I haven't seen. I still haven't seen The Color Purple. I still haven't seen American Fiction. But we're going to just jump right into this. I thought Ferrari would end up on this list, but as you could tell by our last video, Ferrari's definitely not going to end up on this list. So with all that in mind, with this just being my opinions, with grades I've given these movies being irrelevant, let's go through my top 10 best movies of 2023. Let's give some honorable mentions first. Yeah, let's give honorable mentions to Killers of the Flower Moon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Cocaine Bear, Saw X, Joyride, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which that's the only one I actually let our health discussions affect my rating. It would be higher if not for the fact that this movie is aggressively dangerous for photosensitive viewers. More honorable mentions to Dream Scenario, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Wonka, Next Goal Wins, and The Creator. Now hopefully we'll have more production value when we do this again next year, maybe some kind of Sting music in between all these or something to go, but let's just do this. Number 10. My number 10 pick for 2023 is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. This movie was absolutely delightful. My biggest complaint about it is that it has a PG-13 rating when it doesn't have anything to merit a PG-13 rating. It tackles subject matter that younger children than 13 should be exposed to, both boys and girls. It does so in such an entertaining way that it's a really great family movie for both kids and adults, especially kids getting ready to approach puberty. Coming in at number 9, I've got Thanksgiving. This movie was ridiculous. The kills were creative and over the top, and I loved the experience of watching Thanksgiving. This was my favorite horror movie of this year, and it was one of those that just made me laugh at how creative it was and just giggle all giddily. Coming in at number 8 for me, I've got Barbie. Surprise to beginning of the year me, this was the better part of the Barbenheimer weekend. This movie was delightful for everybody. It does earn its PG-13 rating, but it looks like it was so much fun to be on this set, and the fun they had making this movie, writing this movie, all the technical stuff behind it, all the stuff in front of the camera, the fun they had is so contagious. Number 7. This movie I don't believe is on anybody else's top 10. I'm surprised not a lot of people liked it. I have The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is a Dracula movie based on the chapter of Dracula where he's being smuggled on board a ship to London, I think it was London. This movie was basically Alien on the high seas, and there is nothing wrong with that. They performed that task really, really well, and I'm really sad that this movie didn't get more attention. At number 6, I've got Dix the Musical. This was a strong year for musicals, but Dix the Musical was the best one. It had the catchiest music, it had the most fun plot, and And yeah, this movie knew exactly what it set out to be and did a perfect job doing it. At number 5, I have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This one, I am openly admitting to some bias. And the bias on that is that this movie came out just after the massive disappointment that was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Here's a picture of how big an Indiana Jones fan I am. Everything that Dial of Destiny did wrong, Dead Reckoning Part 1 did so right. Especially when it comes to the train chase. In Dial of Destiny, it seems like they used nighttime as a mask for poor CG a lot. But with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, it seems like whenever they did use CG, and they definitely did, it was to enhance really good stuff that they were actually doing on screen. And yeah, just the fact that this was everything that Indiana Jones 5 should have been is what puts it so high on this list. The next four, honestly, I have as kind of a four-way tie. They're all like negligibly better or worse than the others for me. Number four, I expect it's going to be on a lot of people's top 10 list, is Poor Things with Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and Willem Dafoe. This movie took the formula of a Frankenstein's monster and gave her a heavy sex drive and made a weird and wonderful movie. Number three, and again, I feel like I'm the only person who has this movie on their top 10 list, let alone being this high among such high tier movies. Gran Turismo. Like I talked about in my review of Gran Turismo and in my review of Ferrari, I am an auto racing fan, specifically a NASCAR fan, and this may have been the best auto racing movie I've ever seen. There's not much more I could say about how good the racing was and how the drama both on and off the track was in this movie. But what made this the best sports movie of this year was depicting someone who failed a lot on their way to the top. And that just made it so much more relatable and such a better and more inspiring sports story. Coming in at number two, this movie is sure to become a Christmas classic. It's now available on Peacock, The Holdovers, starring Paul Giamatti as a boarding school teacher stuck with the task of babysitting all the boys who are not going home for Christmas. This movie felt cozy. It felt like a warm blanket in a cold climate. It felt like a movie you've grown up with, even though it only came out a couple months ago. And it's such a nice use of the Christmas time setting and the uplifting conversations between the more experienced cynic and the up-and-coming cynic. And despite the fact that all these characters are cynical, it maintains a wonderful sense of optimism. Finally, at number one, a movie that is a masterclass at so many different crafts of filmmaking, John Wick Chapter 4. This movie is proof that we need more recognition in the awards circuit for stunt work. If you look at behind the scenes videos of the stunt work of this movie, so much of it is real. I saw a TikTok right before this movie came out from Lionsgate showing an armored character literally being thrown down a long escalator and making like 3 tumbling rolls on the way down. And you think it would be a dummy that they threw down these stairs, but then when they cut the scene, the escalator stops and this guy gets up. But what really sets this movie apart from the other John Wick movies is the supporting cast, in that I would watch a spin-off about any of these supporting characters. The Marquis, Donnie Yen's character, the Japanese lady who... Spoiler alert, sorry. The one scene that really just boosted this movie to the top of the year for me was the from the top down long shot tracking John Wick with an incendiary weapon. My jaw was literally dropped during that whole sequence. So there you have it, my top 10 movies of 2023. This was all just my opinions, and the background has changed based on how safe or unsafe each of these movies were for photosensitive audiences. So going into 2024, always be sure to stay safe at the movies.